Thank you for staying with us. You know, a devout Jew, a very devout Jew, and Mr. Kohan told me he's a devout Orthodox Jew, always recites the Shema. And the Shema is a Hebrew prayer, and I have memorized it in the Hebrew word. Maybe you should recite your Shema before our audience.
Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, which means,
Which
hear
means,
Israel.
Hear, O Israel, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all your heart, all your might, and all your soul.
Yes, and the Lord is one.
And the Lord is one. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is one. It starts like that. And yes, Adonai Israel and Adonai Eloheinu and Adonai
Echad, which means one.
Yeah.
One
So
God.
that's a prayer of a devout Jew before when he wakes up, and you pray it before you sleep.
Before you go to bed.
Before you go to bed. And these are all things about the similarities of our Catholic or Christian religion to yours, because it is common for us in our Holy Mass. Because in our Holy Mass, which actually the Last Supper, the Eucharist, where Jesus said, eat my body and drink my blood, is a representation or a remembrance of the first Passover. And the Passover where the Moses was told that when Pharaoh came up with the last plague, and that last plague was that all firstborn of Israel will die, Moses reminded the Pharaoh that all firstborn of Egypt will also die. And then God told Moses, slaughter the unblemished lamb, get his blood in an hyssop branch, and put it on your doorsill, and then eat the unblemished lamb, preparing yourself as if you're ready to go, and eat the unblemished lamb. And there are prayers. There are prayers of the Kadosh, for instance, the cup of thanksgiving, the cup of gratitude, and all of these cups. It's our Holy Mass is actually taken from that Passover, so you can see the difference, and you can see also the similarities.
I think you have to acknowledge a cultural aspect, and that is that Jews like barbecues.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
It's, we kill the lamb, we mark the door, and we barbecued.
Yeah.
And being born in Argentina, and my wife from South
You're
Africa.
born in Argentina?
Yes.
Okay.
We love barbecues, and we don't know if that's coming, from where we were born, or just because we're Jewish, and the Passover story.
Yeah, but exactly that you have to eat the unblemished lamb, and in a way that was a perfect offering to God, to Yahweh, and because of that, when our Lord, who is Jesus Christ, who was a Jew, said, I am now the Lamb of God, and I am the new covenant. So this is where the difference is between the Judaism faith and the Catholic faith moves. But it does not condemn Judaism. And in that sense, we have coexisted, especially with the fact that, for instance, we recite Isaiah many times in our Mass. We read the Bible many times. We read our 10 Commandments come from your 10 Commandments. The laws of God is our laws. So it's actually, there's so much integration of our faiths.
Well, we have to acknowledge that that it comes from a very political figure in a very complex time.
Yes.
in Israel, and above all, back in the day, to be a political figure, you needed to be a teacher. So you had followers, and even though faith-wise, we can argue for another 2,000 years who's right. We need to focus on what are the positive aspects. The Jews, that Jesus was another political figure, just rebelling against Roman oppression.
Yes.
Something that we can all relate today with so many oppressive regimes, that are in need of true leadership, regardless
Yes.
of the results. And the Christians to focus on how did Jesus lived every day? What did Jesus eat? How did he pray? How did he study?
Yeah.
because these are the essence of how the character of the historical figure gets to be built. And I think it's a great opportunity to discover a new character that is probably the most famous Jew of all times,
Yes.
yet the most misunderstood
Yes.
character in history.
Well, if you consider there are what all over the world, maybe 15 to 20 million Jews,
Much less.
or much less. Many of them are Russia, Poland, United States. A lot of them. In Israel, about 7-8 million now. But there are 1 billion Catholics. 1 billion Catholics, not to count the other Christian sects. So, yes, Jesus Christ was the most famous Jew of all. But again, he said it, no prophet is accepted in his own land. So that's why the Jews continue with their old Moses type of Judaism, and he shifted into something different. But again, there were many things that happened in those years that we still use until now. For instance, when the walls of Jericho fell, using only trumpets, because it is true prayer. Because the beauty of Israel is it is still a nation that attunes itself to God. That's why you're still blessed. While most nations have already discarded God, they think that their country can live without God. The United States is one of them. They're about to throw away what's written in their $1 bill, "In God we trust." And that is where the difference is. And I mean the similarities between the Philippines and Israel. Because Israel still recognizes Yahweh, the Filipinos still recognize God and Jesus Christ as our God. And as a nation, we should grow together despite our differences in the faith.
I completely agree.
Yeah, and there are many opportunities for us for cultural exchanges. Like for instance, I grew up watching the movie Yentl when Barbara Streisand was still new. I enjoyed that movie. I grew up, one of my favorite musicals is Fiddler on the Roof. And that Fiddler on the Roof was what? Was that a movie on a real place? Is Anateska in Russia? Was it in Russia or somewhere?
It was, I'm not sure where Anateska is, but it could be somewhere Poland, Ukraine, or Russia.
In one of the Eastern European countries.
Yes.
Where a lot of the Jews moved out.
Right, a lot of Ashkenazi Jews.
And it gives you an idea of the wandering Jew, a story of the wandering Jew, that these people, this group of a nation of Jews would go into one area. They may be poor, but somehow they survive. And that's the story in the Fiddler on the Roof.
That's the story, I think, of Israel. Because when you're chased from Spain, you're chased from Poland, you're chased from England, the only thing you can take, it's your brain.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you can't really invest in a house, in any kind of commodities or other assets. You need to invest in education. And this, it became the DNA of the Jew and basically the technological advancement of Israel today. Thousands of years of being chased, which for many will be a disadvantage. It will turn out to be an advantage today because we invested and we keep investing on our education.
And you invest also in your security. You are already a 30-ish man. You must have served, I'm sure of it, in the Israeli Defense Force.
Yes, I was a soldier. I did reserve duty, and it's a very particular army, unlike maybe the American or the Filipino, where in the Israeli army hierarchy, of course, there are generals, there are colonels, lieutenants, but the relationship with its soldiers is very friendly, almost family-like, because we are all very close to home. We all want to go home from the base on the weekend. And it's the people's army. We might all disagree during the week on politics, business, but at the end of the day, we all agree that, we need to protect ourselves, we need to protect our families, and the best way to do that is being good friends with each other, and that develop really a high professional army.
That's why I really look at Israel, because it's a nation surrounded by its enemies, and because of that, they had to fend for themselves, and they created their own. For instance, the Israeli armament industry became one of the best in the world. You know, your Galil, your Uzis became so famous because what? They did not have to buy from outside. They just created their own. And because of that, and you were right, it's the brains. And every single Israeli citizen is made to have a duty to protect the state. Unfortunately, here in this country, we remove our ROTC, and I've been fighting to get it back, because why? Like it or not, we should serve our country, and if so, we have to fight and die for our country if it's necessary. And that's what we see in Israel. And we'll be back with Mr. Alex Kohan after this break.